Here's the one thing that none of you told me when I moved to the US, to New York. Not one of you was gonna let me know how expensive books are here. They're so much more expensive than in the UK. That's like, it shook me to my very core. First time I set foot in a Barnes & Noble bookstore, I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. A hardback book for like $26. It's not even close to being relative to like the price of the same book in the UK. I would say like a hardback book in the UK might be like £15, £18. What do you mean this book is $26? That's craziness. So anyway, all that to say, I went thrift shopping and I went to a shop called Housing Works, which is essentially it's like a charity shop here which raises money to help victims of the twin crises of homelessness and HIV. It's a really, really incredible place. I implore you to go and visit and buy some books if you can. If you're ever in New York, I love Housing Works, very, very important cause, and they have great books. And so here's the thing, I feel like someone in my local area is a fiction lover and they read a lot of new release fiction and then they just get rid of it. Someone had had a big clear out and the shelves were stacked with books that I either love or want to read. Whoever was getting rid of these books has taste and also left all these books in excellent condition. I'm wondering if they maybe are like a book critic or something because they just have copies of like every book. I feel like one person donated all of these books, but I don't know. Anyways, I bought all of them. I bought as many as I could carry and these were like $8 each. So I think I got this whole selection for like $45 when that would be the price of like, I couldn't even buy 2 of these books normally for that price. So I was buzzing. That was like the best day ever. So I'm going to tell you about these books, but firstly, I just wanted to let you know that today's video is very, very kindly brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand, and they have great tools that you can use to develop your brand. For example, an email mailing list. You can set up a blog to show what's going on behind the scenes. You can use their analytical tools to check what content you should be making more of, like what people are responding really well to. I actually made this website using one of the Squarespace templates, and the templates are so great because basically they mean that you don't need any coding experience. You can just jump straight in, have a play around, move things around, duplicate things, edit things, change things. It made the whole process so unbelievably easy and straightforward. You know, the interface is very, very user-friendly. So I love Squarespace, and if you would like to give it a go and test your creativity, begin the brand of your dreams, take this as your kick up the backside to go and do it. Have a play around with Squarespace, especially because Squarespace has a free trial so you can work things out, see how you like it, and then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, you can use the code jackinthebooks at squarespace.com/jackinthebooks to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So that being said, these are the books that I picked up and I'm gonna give you a little haul. This is the one I was most excited to find because I wanted this book for so long. It's called After Sappho, obviously inspired by Sappho the poet. Who was Sappho? No one knew, but she had an island. She was garlanded with girls. She could sit down to dine and look straight at the women she loved, however unhappily. When the characters in After Sappho encounter the verse of the classical Greek poet, it is an awakening. Alone and ablaze, they finger breathlessly over fragments, hiding behind laundry lines, gazing out at the sea, staining their dresses in backyards. United by the same muse, they separate from their small, predetermined lives for seemingly disparate paths, eager to brave the same 5 words. We live the opposite, daring. Written in cascading vignettes, After Sappho spins an imbricated tale of these real... Oh, I've never seen a blurb go onto the onto the back page before, of these artists and more, from Sarah Bernhardt to Josephine Baker to Colette, whose narratives converge and splinter at the turn of the 20th century. Whether experimenting in Natalie Barney's Paris salon, taking to the streets for suffrage, or even voyaging to the island of Lesbos itself, together they forge new identities and reclaim their exquisite lives. Okay, so I think that this is a collection of very short vignettes about different women over history, beginning at the time of the poet Sappho. So that is really interesting as a concept. Unlike anything I've ever read before, it was longlisted for the Booker Prize last year, and as you know, I am a Booker Prize super fan, so very intrigued by After Sappho and grateful to have the US edition because the UK edition is so disappointing. It's such a boring cover, so I love this one. Next, a book that you will have seen in so many of my vlogs because I feel like every time I go to a bookstore, I film this and I'm like, I want that book. And for some reason, I just never got around to actually buying it, but Now I have it. This is Joan is Okay. Joan is a 30-something ICU doctor at a busy New York City hospital. You know I love New York narratives. I love to read books about the city that I am in. I find it very immersive and interesting to read different perspectives and perceptions of the city that I also inhabit, so this is a win already for me. The daughter of Chinese parents who came to the United States to secure the American dream for their children, Joan is intensely devoted to her work. Happily solitary, successful. She does look up sometimes and wonder where her true roots lie. At the hospital, where her white coat makes her feel needed, or with her family, who try to shape her life according to their own cultural and social expectations. Once Joan and her brother Fang were established in their careers, their parents moved back to China, hoping to spend the rest of their lives in their homeland. But when Joan's father falls suddenly ill and dies, and her mother returns to America to reconnect with her children, a series of events sends Joan spiraling out of her comfort zone just as her hospital, her city, and the world are forced to reckon with a health crisis. There it is, COVID-19, baby. Health crisis more devastating than anyone could have imagined. Oh, this is a COVID book. Deceptively spare and quietly powerful, laced with sharp humour, Joan is Okay. Joan is Okay touches on deeply resonant matters, being Chinese American right now, working in medicine at high stakes times, and finding one's voice within a dominant culture. This is fascinating. So many interesting themes there. Damn, that is going to be awesome. Next, we have this book. This is How to... No, that is absolutely not what that says. This is Nothing to See Here. What I was gonna say is, I made a video where I made a series of videos where I looked at celebrity book recommendations from like actors and actresses, and this was one of the most recommended books in that series. Lots of very famous people have recommended this book, and in that video I said this one really intrigued me, and so I've been on the lookout for it ever since, and when I found it, I literally put it into my basket without even reading the blurb, so this is a first reaction. Lillian and Madison were unlikely roommates and yet inseparable friends at their boarding school. But then Lillian had to leave the school unexpectedly in the wake of a scandal, and they've barely spoken since. Until now, more than 10 years later, when Lillian gets a letter from Madison pleading for her help. Madison's twin stepkids are moving in with her family, and she wants Lillian to be their caretaker. However, there's a catch. The twins spontaneously combust when they get agitated, flames igniting from their skin in a startling but beautiful way. That explains the cover, but I wasn't expecting that somehow. Lillian is convinced Madison is pulling her leg, but it is the truth. Thinking of her dead-end life at home, the life has consistently disappointed her, Lillian figures she has nothing to lose. Over the course of one humid, demanding summer, Lillian and the twins learn to trust one another and stay cool, while also staying out of the way of Madison's buttoned-up politician husband. Surprised by her own ingenuity, yet unused to the intense feelings of protectiveness she feels for them, Lillian ultimately begins to accept that she needs these strange children as much as they need her, urgently and fiercely. Couldn't this be the start of the amazing life she had always hoped for? With white-hot wit and a big tender heart, Kevin Wilson has written his best book yet, a most unusual story of parental love. Wow, okay, great. And you know what? This one was only $4. $4. And I can't think why, because it's in perfect condition. Well, either way, that is my win. Next, this was the last book that I picked up out of this selection, just because I thought the cover was really cool. Look, lock me up. Guilty of a good time. Guilty of liking beautiful things. I liked the cover of this one, fine, whatever. This is Harrow by Joy Williams. Kristen is a teenager who her mother believes was marked by a greatness as a baby when she died for a moment and then came back to life. After Kristen's failing boarding school for gifted teens closes its doors and she finds that her mother has disappeared, she ranges across the dead landscape and washes up at a resort on the shores of a mysterious, putrid lake the elderly residents there call Big Girl. In a rotting honeycomb of rooms, these old ones plot actions to punish corporations and people they consider culpable in the destruction of the final scraps of nature's beauty. What will Kristen and Jeffrey, the precocious 10-year-old boy she meets there, learn from these people? Rivetingly strange and beautiful, and delivered with Williams's searing, deadpan wit, Harrow is a tale of paradise lost and of the reasons against all reasonableness to try to recover something of it. Ooh. Do you see why I picked these books up? They just sound so great. Oh, okay, this one, basically, okay, there's a story behind this. So my friend messaged me saying that he really wanted a book recommendation over the summer, and I gave him a book recommendation and he loved it. So then he was like, okay, I finished that book, now I need the next thing that you recommend because that recommendation was perfect for me. And one thing about me is I pride myself on giving very personalized, good recommendations, okay, to people that I know and love. I'm like, I want to recommend you a book that I think you will really, really enjoy from like the breadth of my reading. I was struggling with a second book for him, and then there's this book that I've heard about that I realized would be perfect for him, but I hadn't yet read it. So I was like, I can't necessarily recommend this book from personal experience, but I want to be able to. So I have been thinking about it because this friend is an actor, he's gay, and he's recently become an uncle. And so then I found this book. It's called The Gunkle, and it is about a gay actor who has recently become an uncle. Come on, hello! This is the perfect book for this friend. And so when I was in the store, I actually saw this and I was like, no way, $3. $3. So I'm gonna read it first, and then if it's good, I will give it to him because I think that it's up his street. And also I think it'll be fun for us to be able to discuss a book that we've both read. So this is The Gunkle. It's by Stephen Rowley, and this is the description. Patrick, or gay Uncle Patrick, Gup for short, has always loved his niece Maisie and nephew Grant. That is, he loves spending time with them when they come out to Palm Springs for week-long visits, or when he heads home to Connecticut for the holidays. So, when tragedy strikes and Patrick finds himself suddenly taking on the role of primary guardian, he is honestly pretty overwhelmed. Patrick has no idea what to expect, having spent years barely holding on after the loss of his great love, a somewhat stalled acting career, and a lifestyle not so suited to a 6- and 9-year-old. But when his waggish set of gunkle rules no longer appease Maisie and Grant's parental void, Patrick's eyes are opened to a new sense of responsibility and the realization that sometimes even being larger than life means you're unfailingly human. That sounds great, right? So I feel like this is gonna be a fun, easy read, and so I'm gonna read it very quickly and then decide whether to pass this on to my friends. So that's The Gunkle, and that's the backstory behind that one. And finally, another book that I have been eyeing up every time I walk into a bookstore is this one, Scattered All Over the Earth. What's interesting about this is that the UK cover is totally different, and I really couldn't decide which one I preferred, but I felt like it was a sign from above. By the way, did I tell you, this one was $3, and this one is $6. So bargains left, right, and center, and I felt like that is a sign that I needed to buy this copy of this book. So this is a Japanese book translated from the Japanese by Margaret Mitsusani, and the author is Yoko Tawada. This is described as a mind-expanding, cheerfully dystopian novel, which cheerfully dystopian feels like a bit of an oxymoron, but I kind of am here for it. The world's climate disaster and its attendant refugee crises, that doesn't sound cheerfully dystopian, that just sounds sad, are viewed through the loving twin lenses of friendship and linguistic ingenuity. Welcome to the not too distant future. Japan, having vanished from the face of the earth, is now remembered as the land of sushi. Haruko, a former citizen and a climate refugee, has a job teaching immigrant children in Denmark a new invented language, Panenka. Oh, sorry, that does not say Panenka. Panenka is one of my favorite books, so when I read this, it says Panska, but when I saw Panska, my brain just went, Panenka, because I love that book so much. Panska, which is Pan-Scandinavian. As she searches for anyone who can still speak her mother tongue, Haruko soon makes new friends. Her troops travel to France and Stockholm, and in a series of mesmerizing scenes encounters an umami cooking competition, a dead whale, an ultra-nationalist, and much more, each scene more vivid than the last. So I guess it's about reclaiming your heritage, reconnecting with a lost country that you would call home, a lost motherland. And I think that's a really fascinating concept. So that is Scattered All Over the Earth. That is my book haul. I'm chuffed. I am buzzing with this. Look at that set of books. Lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that this inspired you to pick up one of these books, or at least whet your appetite to go thrifting. Go have a look in some charity shops, see what bargains you can find on some secondhand books. And I will catch you next time. All the best. Stay in touch. Bye-bye.